Welcome to the first episode of the Can You Geek podcast. My name is Steve, and this is Errane.
Hey, what's going on?
Today we're going to be discussing the Disney and Fox merger and how it impacts the MCU and what we would like to see come into the universe. So with the finalized official Disney merger with Fox and Marvel getting all of their mutants back, who do you want to see first coming into the MCU, and how do you think they're going to do it? So for me personally, I want to see Fantastic Four done right. So that's where I want to see them start with. And I think the easiest way to do it, because they haven't obviously cast anybody yet, at least not publicly, is the end credit scene, because they're starting to get very cosmic in the MCU, is to have either showing the Baxter Tower or a rocket with the Baxter logo launching into space, and that's the start of the mission where they get radiated in the space station. It's something pretty easy to be done in CGI, nothing that would be killing in the time, and pretty easy to fit in. The other way I could see them doing it is, again, CGI with nobody being cast, is just kind of like they did with Thanos, where it just cuts to like a throne room, and you see Galactus turn to Silver Surfer and just say, "It's time." And then it just cuts.
Thanos, yeah, because Thanos wasn't even cast when they first showed him, was he?
Not that I'm aware of. Or if they did, it was just like a quick little 2-second line from Josh Brolin.
Yeah, because I don't think Brolin was even involved when they showed Thanos. So you're saying in like Endgame?
Yeah, at the end of Endgame, the post-credit of Endgame.
Have they announced anything about going for Fantastic Four immediately? Have they even said anything about trying to Fantastic Four back to life?
No, but once Disney had started the process to acquire Fox, Marvel Comics brought back Fantastic Four. So a few years ago, Marvel Comics cut Fantastic Four completely. And
yeah, they were so bad in the cinematic universe it wasn't making, despite all these older people who knew Fantastic Four heyday. I mean, honestly, they just made an executive decision. Go, all right, well, fuck you. If you don't we don't own these guys, and if we don't own them in our cinematic universe, why would we keep them around in our comics? It makes sense.
Exactly, and I had no issue with that decision at all. Completely made sense from a business standpoint. Completely makes sense from every other standpoint. I don't see it being X-Men first, just because everybody wants X-Men. I totally get that. But with Dark Phoenix coming out soon and having really bad early reviews, I can see Marvel kind of just letting that die a little bit first.
Dark Phoenix has bad reviews already?
Oh, really bad reviews. If the early reports back is it's very much X3 all over again. Like they have... they have Sophie Turner wearing a modified version of the leather outfit that they had in X3, and it's from what Have you seen the trailer? I've seen the trailer. I personally want to watch it. I'm still gonna watch it. I liked the way they were going with Days of Future Past. I liked the whole reboot they did, where it's like, yeah, that stuff still happened in the other movies, but we're going in a whole new direction because we reset the timeline. Totally made sense.
Well, Apocalypse is one of my favorite villains in the X-Men universe in Marvel. I didn't particularly love the way that the Apocalypse movie was done. I do think that every actor involved has a lot of potential to do great things. I did love seeing Olivia Munn in roles because I think she's an incredibly underrated actor. If you ever watched her in Newsroom and the things she did there, outside of when she started back in I think it was called G4 or some TV show she used to do. But I do agree with you. Like my wife and I watching the trailer during before we saw Captain Marvel 2 days ago, it was eye-catching. Yeah. We both looked at each other and we wanted to see the movie. Now I know trailers are done on purpose to seem that way for us to want to be excited about it. So I get that it would probably be bad reviews coming from people who've seen it or early stuff from it. And Dark Phoenix in general is just, if it I just don't see how somebody had the balls to go, oh, it totally fucked it in X3. Let's do it again. Like, let's go for it. Why not? Fuck it, right? They've hinted towards it a lot in those movies. I get that, and I get your point of bringing Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is such an old, loved group of superheroes that have just been done so dirty here and there. And it's sad to see, because the most recent movie actually had me excited in the beginning, and then they fucked up Doctor Doom.
Yeah.
Horribly, and the story altogether. But that's a whole nother conversation we could have. But what you're saying, well, I agree with you though. A nice little touch at the end of Endgame, or any of the cosmic, right, that they're messing with, even in Guardians 3 maybe.
Yeah.
If they want to put it off a little bit, since this just happened today. Was it today that it was official?
I think yesterday, because it was right as I was going to watch Captain Marvel.
Okay, so with the merger coming in, I agree that having that ownership back. I know that X-Men's popular. Personally, X-Men was a huge part of my childhood. Having all those mutants back, but Fantastic Four definitely deserves its due. I never was a huge Fantastic Four guy myself, but I definitely think that a lot of people would love to see Doctor Doom done right, specifically more so than even the four heroes that are so beloved in that team. And you're right, because then if you bring in Galactus, it's another big villain. They can play around with whatever their future plans are for bringing in, the Avengers and changing that lineup with the actors, and get them a big enemy to build up to again. Because the reason the cinematic universe has been so incredible is you watch Infinity War and you get to see the culmination of years of buildup that people have just been thriving to see. So if, just like you said, well, one bad thing just ended, let's bring in another big baddie that we can build up to. Then, like you're saying, we can then build the story of the Fantastic Four. We can continue in our cosmic universe. Galactus then brings the possibility of Silver Surfer, which is a huge hit for a lot of people.
That's
Thor
my biggest
has
thing.
gone to space. Yep. Oh, you love Silver Surfer.
Love Silver Surfer growing up. X-Men and Silver Surfer were exactly like you. X-Men was my childhood. The X-Men cartoons every Saturday morning. Silver Surfer was one of the few comics I looked forward to whenever he was in one. Silver Surfer was my issue with the Fantastic Four movies. They tried really hard in all honesty, he wasn't the worst part of that movie.
I heard he wasn't bad, but Galactus was like a giant cloud or something, right?
Yeah, he was a giant planetary cloud that just devoured worlds instead of being a person.
Well, I mean, like a giant mass entity that's devouring worlds. Because he does devour worlds, but he's not a cloud.
Yeah. Think Dormammu from Doctor Strange. How he was this big, massive entity in the Dark Realm.
Right.
That was Galactus in that Fantastic Four Rise of Silver Surfer.
Okay, because I haven't seen it. I will admit that. I saw the very first Fantastic Four movie. I didn't like it. I just skipped the second one. I never watched the Silver. And that has a lot to do with, like I said, I've never been a Fantastic Four guy.
Yeah.
I never have been even a Silver Surfer guy personally. Every X-Men movie I watched because I just wanted them to be great. And as much shit as those movies get, there are a lot of good things that came out of the X-Men movies. And I agree with you. Days of Future Past, I thought was a really incredible way to bring all of that world, like all of that stuff together in some sort of meaningful way that I didn't think was presented badly. I really liked the younger X-Men team. I like what those actors and what they're doing and that device. But like I said, the Apocalypse movie hurt me a little bit. I didn't like everything about it for sure. A lot of it just kind of upset me, and I thought they handled some of it wrong. But
totally. I felt Apocalypse was way too rushed, personally.
Right. And again, just like to follow Apocalypse with Dark Phoenix, I feel like you're just not learning your lesson. Yeah. I think Apocalypse is a villain that deserves a Thanos treatment. Apocalypse is a big deal, and they gave him just a
half
push to the side. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, there's so much there that could have been unpacked, and they just failed to do so when they could have been so much better. And I think that now Marvel has a chance to fix that And I think that we have a great foundation of some amazing movies. And people forget sometimes, or maybe they don't, they just choose to not remember that Marvel Cinematic Universe has not been perfect. They've definitely released some crapshoot movies that have been, if anything, just at least B-movie entertaining if you're really, really bored and you just
Thor
want
Dark
to know
World?
the stories. Oh, God, don't. Just Thor in general. Until Thor Ragnarok happened, I mean, I already don't like Thor. Personally, it's never been, I like Norse mythology, but Thor isn't the god that I really liked in Norse mythology. And so when it came to like superheroes and you talk about Thor as a character, as a kid, I just inherently didn't like that character. I never felt the big long-haired blonde guy that looks like, you know, the fucking butter commercial dude. What is his name?
Fabio.
Fabio, right? This Fabio looking motherfucker wielding the hammer. Right, it's Captain America playing Ultimate Frisbee and Thor playing Ultimate Hammer. I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff that I didn't like about it.
I completely agree with you on that. Thor 1 I enjoyed because it was introducing another character, so I enjoyed it. 2 and 3.
Fair.
Oh, Dark World just almost killed the whole series for me, and then Ragnarok just completely flipped it on its head and I personally have probably watched Ragnarok close to 50 times.
I don't blame you for that. That's an incredible movie. I have a buddy who's watched Infinity War, I think, about the same amount of times, because it is also just an incredible movie, and I think that Marvel do justice to a villain that deserves that sort of time.
Yeah.
And I feel like giving Thanos his due and then presenting him, in my opinion, perfectly as the perfect villain. I'm really excited what Endgame can be, and I'm really scared because I thought Infinity War was just incredible, and I'm wondering how they're going to do the back half of that movie. I'm interested to see it. I can't wait till we talk about it after watching it, and obviously giving some spoiler time frame.
Of course,
for that.
Definitely.
Right. I do think that if X-Men comes back, they should do a Guardians kind of crossover. Not a crossover. I think they should do a Guardians patch-up. So Guardians was this team that really didn't mean a whole lot to a whole lot of people, but is now one of the most popular character-driven loves for some people, where they find something in Drax and Gamora and Groot and Rocket and Star-Lord and Mantis. You know, they've found their loves for these characters that meant nothing to the majority of people. And I get that geek culture in itself has driven to extreme heights because of the commercialization and the money that's being made in the Marvel universe specifically, but just all around. Used to, we just were excited about the newest Batman or Superman movie. We really didn't think outside of that. And then Iron Man happened, and X-Men movies happened, and then the Marvel Cinematic Universe really got to rolling. And now we're here today where if you see a big movie like Black Panther or Captain Marvel, you're so super stoked where you're filling out theaters with people who normally wouldn't have watched these movies before, because geek culture just was such an off thing, and you're seeing the growth of that. And so I think the treatment that they should give X-Men is doing characters that aren't necessarily popular and letting your mainstream team kind of die off for a little bit, like you're saying.
Yeah,
especially if Dark Phoenix goes bad.
Exactly. Don't turn around and bring out Jean Grey again, Cyclops, Wolverine. Like, don't roll these people out right away. Start off with like a Jubilee, Rogue, Colossus. I love Colossus in Deadpool. One of my favorite characters in that movie.
He is incredible. Do you know, I personally don't know, have they discussed what they're going to do with Ryan Reynolds and his Deadpool with the merger?
From early announcement of it, because Ryan Reynolds was worried, rightfully so. Rated R. Disney doesn't do rated R. Disney's, I think it's Bob Iger still, and Kevin Feige both have said that why break something that's not broken? And
so they still want to make money.
Yeah. And I mean, Ryan Reynolds was smart and recut Deadpool 2 PG-13 to show, hey, I can still do this with Once Upon a Deadpool. If that's what
Have you actually seen it?
I haven't watched it yet myself, but the fact that they did it says a lot. Like,
was that in response to just letting people see Deadpool in PG-13, or was it a response to the Because when he did that, had it been known that Disney and Fox were in this deal? I can't remember the timeline for that.
Yeah, no, it was. So the initial announcements of the talks for the deal were 2017.
Okay, so did Ryan Reynolds do the PG-13 version just to show Disney what they're getting?
There was no official word on why he did it, but at least that I've seen. The rumors that I've heard, though, are that, yes, he did it to prove that he's willing to and able to still keep the humor of Deadpool, but keep it PG-13.
Okay. I haven't watched Once Upon a Deadpool. I think I should, just to see that in case that is risk. Now, if they're saying if it isn't broke, don't fix it, I'm happier to hear that, because there's a lot of things Ryan Reynolds is doing that are just incredible to character creation and character backstory to characters that people, like I said, aside from Deadpool and Colossus. I mean, Colossus does have a true big following as far as the love for him, but it definitely has grown due to how amazing he is and has been done in the Deadpool movie. And so I'm interested to see who gets who.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be honest, I had no idea who Negasonic Teenage Warhead, whatever her name is in the movie, was until that movie.
Okay, I'd heard of her as a character before, but you're right. I knew nothing about her, and that movie gave her life. And I think that that's so because it's like almost like a Tank Girl kind of model, if you will, with just really, really cool. Because Tank Girl was just such a good movie back in its day, and it's corny as shit, but I fucking loved it. And it's good to see that, you know, we get representation on that front of just people who are not as popular characters being made into really cool big screen presences, and I'm excited about that.
And I mean, if they let Deadpool still do standalone rated R movies, they can totally do that. Bring in characters from the MCU without issue into a rated R movie. I don't see why you couldn't. And then treat Deadpool in the MCU movies exactly like they did in the Lego video games, where he's kind of like this hilarious supporting character, and they could totally do it easily where he comes in and tries to go full foul mouth, and then all of a sudden you get like sensor beeps and he looks at the camera like, what's going on? Like, why am I being beeped? Like, and because he breaks that fourth wall, he could be like, what? Oh yeah. And recognize the fact that he's in a PG-13 movie and tone it down for that movie, but then still have his standalone where he's exactly what we love about Deadpool.
And how great would that be? I mean, breaking the fourth wall is important to Deadpool's character, and to be able to do it in such a hysterical way that we know is coming, but we get to see it done.
Exactly. It would. He's already doing it in the movies. Like, keep it up. Just bring it into the MCU universe, and you're good to go.
So, what potential issues do you maybe see then with Disney acquiring Fox? Do you see any problems with Marvel having a hold of those again, or any issues of maybe fan problem? Because X-Men, I don't know. There was some talk about a Gambit movie time. Like, the Gambit movie, is it still going to happen?
That is because I mean, they had Gambit cast already. It was Channing Tatum,
right?
So I don't know. I would love to see that movie.
Me too. I love Channing Tatum. After 21 and 22 Jump Street,
yeah,
he has my full attention in anything he does from that point.
The spy movie, the British one.
Oh, the Kingsman.
Kingsman 2, where he's the American version of Kingsman, the Whiskey Man or whatever.
Yeah, he was so good. That cowboy. Yeah, I watched that at your house actually.
Yeah,
that's when I watched it for the first time. That shit was hilarious.
So my big worry with the merger is now they have too many characters, and they have their A-list characters. So it's because part of what made the MCU so great, like we've talked about briefly, is they focused on smaller, lesser known people. Knew who they were, but they weren't X-Men, they weren't Spider-Man, like they weren't the Fantastic Four in the late 90s when they were bringing out Iron Man. Like, these were characters that people knew, but they didn't love to the level that they became. Like Batman, they were definitely not a Batman. They were not a Superman. They were not Wolverine. Like, they weren't these beloved characters. MCU built them through amazing storytelling and movies, some hit and miss, but intertwined movies from the very beginning. Like the fact there's Easter eggs in Iron Man 1 that tied into Infinity War is incredible, to think that they had that vision for 10 years. So that's my worry going forward, is now it's like, hey, we now have thousands of characters we can build on, and we have the Golden Child back. How do we do this? And I mean, I trust Kevin Feige. He has shown that over the last 10 years, he has an incredible vision. I just worry it might be a little too much initially.
Yeah, I see your point there, but if they can continue to meld, because they're losing some of those big names and replacing them. Now having Spider-Man's like a split deal, right, with Sony?
Yes. My understanding is Marvel helps make the Spider-Man movies in exchange for MCU characters being in Spider-Man movies and Spider-Man being in MCU movies.
Okay, so it's kind of like a handshake deal of we still kind of have rights to this, but we're helping each other, so that way Spider-Man could still be a part of the MCU.
Yeah, but Spider-Man's characters aren't part of the MCU. Like, not all of them. So, like, Venom isn't technically part of the MCU. He's in the Spider-Man universe, but he's not in the Marvel universe, if that makes sense. So that's why Sony has this new Sony's Marvel Cinematic Universe, or whatever they were calling it.
Interesting. Okay, so do you happen to know offhand who had Ghost Rider?
That I honestly, the whole time we've been talking, I've been thinking about that. I don't totally know, but because I want him. I want a better movie. Nicolas Cage was not a bad Ghost Rider for what the movie was.
Just stop. You're hurting me.
It just wasn't.
I was a kid. It was awful.
The movie itself was bad. He did what he could in that role. I just think the overall movie was so bad. No save. The second one, don't even. Oh, I've watched it 3 times trying to like make it a good movie, and I can't. The first one I can get pieces out of it that I'm like, that was really well done. But yeah, no. Overall, it needs to be redone.
That's a character I think would be cool. I think there's been enough time, because Fantastic Four just got redone and it was done poorly. Everybody's so excited. Finally, they're going to do this right, and they just fucked it up. And then X-Men still in progress. I mean, a movie's about to come out for the X-Men. So aside from Deadpool and the success with mutant portion there, that's like with X-Force coming out, I think something like a Ghost Rider movie, or I don't know what they're doing now that they took all the stuff from Netflix, but I think touching on even something around that universe might be fun, dealing with the Daredevil and the Defenders. And
so in May of 2013, I just Googled while you were talking.
Okay.
Marvel confirmed that they had attained the rights for Ghost Rider and Punisher back from Sony and Lionsgate.
In 2013?
Yeah, as well as they had regained the rights to Blade and Luke Cage.
Oh my God, that's another one I would love. I would love to see them take. So since we're talking about recent, since Fantastic Four just got redone, as much as I know your points are valid, by the way, I'm not taking away from that, because they are in the cosmic portion. They've played in space now with Captain Marvel, Guardians, the Thor,
the upcoming Eternals movie,
right? Everything plays on the cosmic. So it is. I agree, a perfect time to now bring the Fantastic Four in, Doctor Doom, and mess with that, and play that role with Galactus. Because space is not an unknown portion now of Marvel, because of where the cinematic universe has gone, and it's almost the best place to stick around, because that's where your newer heroes have been or going. And I see where that point is valid. And I do think that it might be a good idea. I don't know if in in-game it would be a good idea to play with that, but maybe Guardians 3 would be a good place to really mess with that. I don't know when that's coming out. Yep, then that could be a great place for it. I do think that if they want to play on Earth some more, I would love to see Ghost Rider. I would love to see just some of these characters, like you were saying. I would love to see Blade. I would love to see Because the Blade movies, I didn't think were bad. I personally loved them.
The third one was bad.
Awesome. No, fuck you. I loved them all. I loved every one of them, and that's a bad place to really be, especially if we want to talk about like Chris Evans and Ryan Reynolds involved in too many Marvel things.
Well, so that's the funniest part.
Even crossover in DC.
Well, if you look at, so now they have the rights to Fantastic Four.
Right.
The two people that have played Johnny Storm in both Fantastic Four movies, or all three of them, are characters in the MCU already.
Because Michael B. Jordan
was him in the new one.
Was Johnny Flame. Yeah, that's right. And now he's Killmonger in Black Panther.
Yep.
And now Chris Evans has been in 3 Marvel movies. He's played 3 Marvel characters. He's Captain America now.
Yeah.
He was Johnny Flame, and then he was one of the Runaways, which is a Marvel comic book series.
I totally forgot about the Runaways.
And he is in it. So Chris Evans been dancing around for a minute, and then you've got Ryan Reynolds who was in the Blade movie, the third one that you hate so much. He was in X-Men as Deadpool originally, and he's been Green Lantern in the DC universe, and now, he's the more successful Deadpool. Now, it's just funny that those two actors specifically have really played around in some crazy places. And so I'm interested to see that. Personally, from my childhood, I got to see Punisher done right.
Yes.
So I'd love to see.
Absolutely love Punisher.
I'd love to see the Ghost Rider story be done correctly. And in the current universe, I think that playing on some side characters that don't have to tie into anything right now would be fun. And I think that it's a safe bet to play with. But like you said, that has nothing to do with the merger, because you just said that they got Blade
in 2013.
In 2013, so that's forever ago. So if they've chosen not to do it, it's a strategic move on their part, because it doesn't really fit into what they're playing with now.
Well, what about doing Ghost Rider as a series on like Hulu Plus? So treat it like a Netflix series, because they own Hulu.
Yeah, right. Because Hulu was part of that Fox merger, right?
Yeah.
So now
they're now 66% owner.
So they own Hulu.
They own Hulu, which I'm sure they're stealing. Well, sorry, not stealing, but using some of that tech for the Disney Plus streaming service.
What is Disney Plus streaming service?
So Disney is starting their own separate family-friendly streaming service called Disney Plus. It's supposed to launch this fall. So this is part of why the rumor is why the Netflix series were canceled. I understand Netflix's business move. They didn't want to do 13 episodes anymore of those series, because it's a lot of money they were putting into the production that they weren't getting 100% back, because they didn't own the full rights to those movies.
Right. So it wasn't as lucrative as some of the other originals they've been doing and getting a lot more of the money back, and have been doing great things with that.
Exactly. Triple Frontier, amazing movie. Totally unrelated, but Triple Frontier was a really well done movie with a great cast.
We could definitely dive into that. We should dive into Netflix stuff. Oh my gosh, just been incredibly fun stuff that we could talk about. But
totally.
With the merger, I think that Fantastic Four being done right would be a success story. I feel like it just got staked through the lovers of their hearts too recently. But then again, you are talking about people who would love to see it are getting older. For me personally, Fantastic Four wasn't a big deal. Even in the cartoons and stuff growing up, I was watching Batman Adventures.
Yeah, X-Men.
I hate Superman, but I just like the Superman Adventure stuff because I thought the art style and the stories were fun. But yeah, X-Men, that was huge, right? But even like the Spider-Man cartoon and stuff like that, that's the shit I was watching. Fantastic Four really wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it was Silver Surfer, and I think it was one of the X-Men comics I read that he was a part of the battle that they were in, and I was like, ooh, I need to look up this guy.
Yeah, and that's fair, because you bring in Galactus, I think that's genius, though. If you do want to do Fantastic Four, I think Galactus is your big deal.
And you don't even need to cast Fantastic Four or even think about a movie for another 2 years in. So if you're, say, doing another 8 to 10 year arc, they just show Galactus and say to Silver Surfer, hey, it's time. And it could all be triggered by the snap. Thanos started this whole thing. And now they're like, hey, look, Earth isn't this little planet anymore. We need to go really deal with it. And Galactus is like, all right, it's time. Let's do it. Off goes Silver Surfer. And then that's it. You just leave him in the background. You don't even need to cast him for 2 years. You just continue with your movies. You tell your Eternal story, which is a whole way back. It even can introduce mutants because if I remember correctly, I haven't read every Eternals comic, but if I remember, the Eternals seeded Earth with mutant genes that needed an event to be triggered to cause the mutations to occur. So that you do the Eternals movie, at the end you have that tie-in, and then the snap is the event that triggered the mutations, which then you can start tying in the X-Men. Then you have the Fantastic Four, who you've at this point probably started filming, and then you have them cast and their mutations triggered actually by when they go to space and the radiation from the sun burst or whatever you want to do it. Like, there's so many ways they could tie everything together really easily and still keep this whole Young Avengers that I pray they're going for, because they've hinted at it with Cassie saying she wanted to be Ant-Man's partner. Again, I don't remember how many kids Hawkeye has in the movies. I thought he only had 2. So the fact that they show 2 in the background when he's teaching the girl how to shoot the bow, to me, made it seem like he was teaching the future Hawkeye, which again,
he's becoming Ronin, right?
He becomes Ronin in the movie. It's pretty much confirmed from what everybody's seen in Endgame, which again, can't wait for.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Like, there's so many things they've hinted at Tony and Pepper having a kid who can become Iron Child, either man or woman, whichever way you want to go with that. In the comics, he's a boy, so they call him Iron Lad, but you can do a girl very easily. Hell, even call her Ironheart after her mom. Like, there's so many things you could do with like a Young Avengers and tying into the future, and then have young X-Men at the same time and just milk it for so long.
Yeah, and you don't have to touch. Honestly, Logan is a great basis to maintain some continuity from what exists, in my opinion. I thought Logan was an incredible movie. I thought that Fox killed it.
Yeah.
I thought it was well written, and the girl who played X-23 was brilliant, and I think there's a lot of characters there they could play with, and just like we were saying before, fuck the original, and that might ruin it a little bit. Right? You talk about the world after the X-Men that we grew up on and kind of just play with these newer kids and do something else. Just stop torturing us. I'm just tired of it, because there's so good things and some bad things, and I just don't think the story they keep telling is necessary. Yeah. And I think that, like what you're saying, if they want to play with this Young Avengers, they could play with the younger X-Men. I think they keep the girl who plays X-23. I do know there was the New Mutants movie, and I don't know the actress's name who plays Arya Stark in Game of Thrones.
Yes, I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Yep, and they're supposed to be doing that New Mutants. It's supposed to be horror-based.
Yeah, which, again, I'm super excited for. It's a total twist, something different.
Is it coming, though?
Yes, it's still in production. They had to do a bunch of reshoots again.
Okay.
But my understanding is it is still coming sometime this calendar year. I mean, it's already in the can. Marvel/Disney would be dumb to not basically release it if it's already shot.
Right, because they're paid a lot of money. What was it, like 70 point something billion dollars?
Yeah. Even if it doesn't make back what Fox paid to make the movie, it's money you're going to make back.
Right. I mean, they already paid for it. Why not go for it? So with Disney being so big, and your point to too many characters, I think that there's a lot of truth in that, to where we almost have too much. Because I'm assuming now that they have them back, they're probably not going to release movies under the Fox name anymore.
I do not believe so. I think initially they're still going to be like Fox movies, because that's initially what they were made as.
Right.
But I believe going forward, they're all just being rolled into Disney or Marvel or whatever other, because Disney owns a few different companies. I mean, they may even keep it, but I thought the announcement was there was going to be like a new Fox kind of thing that was being formed, or a new like film industry, or not film industry, film company within Disney for the Fox pictures. Because I mean, they're not going to be cutting out all these rated R movies that Fox has been in development. Now, that would just be crazy.
I think the merger is a good thing for fans that are happy about Marvel having ownership. I think it's a dangerous thing because Disney is just getting so big. It has so much going on, and they've honestly, where they've succeeded in Marvel on that end, Disney owning Star Wars has been a flop for a lot of people. Now, this is a place that we could just go on and on about another time for sure. But I see where fans could be scared for the same reasons. I don't think it's a smart move on Disney to do Fantastic Four right now, because I think that it would be a mistake. I do agree that you have a good point to where they can tease it and not even mess with it for a couple of years to let that stank kind of wear away, because they could just as well fuck it up just
easily.
as everybody else has.
Easily.
And that could be bad.
What if they did an X-Men series? Dropped it on like Disney Plus.
So have you seen the Runaways show?
I have not seen the Runaways yet.
Okay,
I'm
so
still
Jess
watching
and I watched
the DC ones.
we watched all of it. And honestly, it was really poorly done. I don't know anything about the original Runaways comic that came out like back in 2004-ish or something like that. I don't know anything about that story other than what I like Wikipedia'd when I wanted to understand more what I was watching. I will say that the entire first season, in my opinion, was a waste of time. That's not X-Men. I could see a series being interesting. I could also see it being hard to watch being done correctly, but you do have some validity in that point. The reason why X-Men works so well in comics and the cartoon is because you get to tell these stories, because there just are so many mutants. There's just so many of them.
Yeah, and you can do an episode or a couple episodes focusing on one character's story arc, build them up, focus on the smaller, lesser-known people.
Now, what would be cool, what I think would be neat, and I understand that this is hard with big-name actors, but Disney has the money to take a risk with Marvel doing this, and so let's take your idea. Let's take the X-Men as a series idea. I think you grab a bunch of no-name actors, or small-time actors or whatever, and you have them play the roles of these mutants that either don't matter or they can use the main mutant, whatever, to get the attention of a large audience. And I think you do exactly what you just said. You tell the small stories, the small adventures in the TV series, and then when they're about to fight a big baddie, I think connecting that to a movie would be cool. Now, they tried something similar with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't really have much interaction with the cinematic universe other than Agent Coulson.
Yeah.
But it did depend on the movies taking place, specifically with the Avengers movies and I think some Captain America ones, where events that took place in the movie dealing with Hydra or big problems that happened overall with the alien invasion and stuff like that affected the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. Like, it was actively happening as the movie got, like, they would build up to it, and then the movie would drop, and then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would come back, and it would be affected by what the movie did. I'm saying take X-Men, tell the small story you're talking about to give a lot of background to some of these characters. It would take a while because there's just so many of them. Mutants are so vast. And then build to a big cinematic movie and make that have that sort of impact where these small actors now get to go to the big screen. I don't know how easy that is to do or how complicated that would have to be. I don't know the ins and outs of that industry, but I do think that it would be cool.
Yeah,
and I think
that's an amazing idea.
And I think it would give them an opportunity to tell these stories of these mutants really slowly and over time and develop things, and then give them that big cinematic big moment on the big screen to tell like a big story. I'm saying big a lot, but I really mean it, to really amplify what they've done and give them a chance to become these stars in the movie on the big screen.
Yeah.
And then, go to another season telling more little stories, more little adventures, and team kind of builds up. I could see how that becomes difficult because once they become movie stars instead of just TV stars, there's a potential for contract and money issues. Yeah, especially if the movie flops, right? Like if the movie flops, then it's going to be hard pressed to continue. But what if it works?
But then again, you could also do it as, okay, you're signed for say 2 seasons of the TV show. We do 1 movie in that time frame, and then when we come back on the 3rd season, it's an all new cast or partial cast from season 2 because the season 1 characters have now contracted out. Because again, there's so many mutants,
right?
You can just rotate through stories and characters and be like, here we go. Here's their stories.
Yep.
We're building up to the next movie, the next big fight.
And I think that would be fun.
Yeah, and you don't even have to do it as a blockbuster movie. You can just do it as a smaller budget movie, not, hey, we're going to throw $200 billion at this movie to make the next big, huge cinematic thing. Even for the first movie, release it as like a Disney Plus or Hulu movie. Be like,
that's actually, yeah, that's genius because you don't have to, they're not going to make it rated R. And that could be their, oh man, that's really kind of smart actually with them releasing their own thing, or even if they want to do it through Hulu, because Runaways and Legion,
yeah,
they had apparently Legion's really good. I watched the first episode and I'm a giant pussy when it comes to scary shit, and it honestly freaked me out because my own mind is my own worst enemy, and that honestly just really threw me for a loop when I watched it, and it was too much for me in my own brain space to handle, so I won't watch the rest of Legion despite it getting great reviews from friends of mine. But like Runaways was real boring for me. Honestly, we just watched it to just see what happened next. It wasn't like I was engrossed in it. But if they use Hulu as a platform, or even their Disney Plus, depending on what their limitations are there, for exactly what you said, now you're releasing a Hulu original movie, and you could do everything within the X-Men portion of the universe, all without having to interact at all with what the Avengers are doing and what's happening in the cosmic. And you could do that with Ghost Rider, and you could do that with Blade. You could do
all their universes tied together, like they did on Netflix
with the Defenders.
Yeah,
on
with
Netflix.
the Defenders. And
make it
every 2 or 3 years, you just do one joint big movie where they're all going against the same baddie or a group of baddies. Because again, it's the X-Men universe or Ghost Rider universe. Like there's so many bad characters that are amazing evil characters.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of genius to do that with. So now you're not only do you have series running on your platform, whether it be Hulu or the Disney Plus, you have these now mutant and Marvel owned series going on, but at the same time now you're releasing which honestly with Netflix, that's been huge. The Netflix original movies that they've been releasing have been great. So now you, as a big production company, get to go, yep, we've got Marvel, we have the mutants now, we've had Blade, we've had Ghost Rider, or whatever other characters they want to play with, and they can build these stories up. And then all the while, like you're saying, they could bring Fantastic Four, because that's too big of a team to not bring big screen wise. And I think it's smart with Galactus, because now you have a reason to bring the Avengers in and these other big cosmic teams in to deal with such a force.
Exactly.
Right?
And just like they dealt with Thanos, everybody was required to team up to try and fight Thanos. Again, I don't know how Endgame's going to end, if even Thanos is going to be the end-all, be-all big baddie at the end of it. Who knows? Maybe they've shot something completely different where they end up having to team with Thanos. Because they've done it in the comics.
We don't know.
Exactly.
So we could see that.
Yeah, and they could do those, like, say they did a Fantastic Four series instead of a movie. I agree, it should be a movie. It's too big to not be.
Well, I mean, but I like where you're going with it.
And then, so in the comic or in the series, they're constantly fighting Doctor Doom, Doctor Doom, Doctor Doom, Doctor Doom. And then on the 3rd season, it's like Doctor Doom is now teamed up with Kingpin, and because that's, from my understanding, is 2 years after the cancellation, they can't release like a Daredevil series. They can use the character in a movie or in a show, but they can't have a standalone series of, like, Kingpin can't have his own show, or Daredevil, the Punisher. So now that all of these things are canceled, but they could use those characters in other things. So if you're doing
right, they design their own show and bring them in.
You're keeping that continuation, and then you're building this again separate universe that's not necessarily having to deal with the Avengers, and have them all have standalone series, but they team up to fight when all their baddies decide to team up. Like they seem to be dealing with in Spider-Man Homecoming, where they're going to have the Sinister Six from the looks of it, or a version of the Sinister Six.
Yeah, and I tell you what, you can build an Apocalypse and a Dark Phoenix. You can build those type of adversary moments up in a series because it's just like comic books. It's issues.
Yeah, or the TV series when we watched it, where it was an entire season leading up to when the Dark Phoenix was discovered in space. Like there was so much buildup. And again,
it's important.
If they treat the Dark Phoenix like they do with the comics, the Phoenix entity can take over anybody. It doesn't even have to be Jean Grey. Like
and they just go the route with it.
Yeah, like in recent comics when they're trying to defeat this super Thanos character. I haven't read all of them, so I've been reading synopses of it. Like old Thor had Phoenix in him. Wolverine as an old character had Phoenix in him. So it was like Phoenix Wolverine, and he was like this badass Wolverine built with Phoenix in it. Like it's insane what they could do with the Phoenix character that doesn't just have to be Jean Grey.
Yeah, and like I think you're up to something with that, because then you build up the Phoenix adversary and you make it a big deal throughout the series, and then you release a cool little, non-blockbuster hit movie in your own platform as a movie original that's a continuation of what you've been building up.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do want to go big, you tie that character into an actual bigger movie. So you've been building this up on the series. Like, say they do a Dark Phoenix season. So they're talking about the Phoenix power and creature and how it can possess people and all this other stuff. And then you could introduce it in and say it's Thor, like Chris Hemsworth's last movie is Thor, because rumor is they're doing Thor 4, maybe Thor 5. So now we're talking 3-4 years from now. You've built this Phoenix character in the series, and you're like, okay, well, what's a good way to bring that character and the tie-in of the series into the greater universe? You have the Phoenix entity take over Thor, and then everybody has to battle Thor as the Phoenix as his way out. So his last big battle is overcoming the Phoenix power within him and everybody else to then retire into Valhalla. Like, there's so many things and stories they could twist and do, and just take inspiration from the comics, because they're pumping out amazing comics right now, but still have it its own in this new universe that they can create going forward. Because the way that they're getting ready to close this is it's all new stories to be told.
Yeah, and I think it's vital. They just handled it well enough to do that, like to do it right for everything they've built up. Because what they've built the cinematic universe to, and what they've done with the Thanos, and bringing that all to, whatever Endgame brings us, and how they handle this merger, and what titles they've gotten back and returned to them, and what they can do with that in the future. I mean, there's going to be a lot of...
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see them get Spider-Man completely in the whole Spider-Man universe and just have everything. It's never going to happen. Sony's never going to give that up, especially now that Fox is given, like, X-Men and everything is back in Disney. Spider-Man's never going to fully be a Marvel character, but that's fine. I'm okay with that.
And I mean, he's getting to be in the cinematic universe, so that's been enough for a lot of people to get to see, which has been fun for them to have him. So, like you said, Sony's not going to give that title up because it's stupid to do so. Well, they've got the most popular hero of our modern time. Like Superman, Batman take kind of a back burner to where Spider-Man exists in the world of kids today and who they love.
Especially after Spider-Verse. Oh, that was such a good movie.
Just incredible. So
but again, that's a topic for another episode, because that movie alone I could talk about for hours.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things that happen there. But I think overall, I like it. I like that Marvel has rights to their characters again, and that I think is my overall opinion.
Yeah.
Overall, like despite all the little ideas we've had or come up with and things we've talked about and kind of drowned out, kind of, discussing the nature of what they could do, I think I'm happy overall that Marvel itself, despite Disney and everything that Disney owns is an overpowering venture. I think Marvel having ownership of these characters that started where Stan Lee and his staff started doing everything they did. I think the creation of Marvel and what it has and what they should own, I think it's better that they have all their characters. And even though the deal with Disney, or the deal with Disney and Sony, as far as that goes, is like, it's conditional as far as what they can do with Spider-Man. I still think it's good that Spider-Man is one of Stan Lee's greatest and most loved. Like that's his character creation is important to maintain with under the roof. So I love that. I love that exists, and that we have more characters owned by Marvel, and whatever they do with it, whether it's disappointing or not, at least it's all under one roof. We can now point our fingers at one group and not be like, oh, this is because Fox did this. Yeah. Oh, because Fox did it, it's going to fucking suck. Take Logan and Deadpool aside, everything else Fox was doing, people were mad at, despite, whatever it was. And they did fuck a lot of stuff up, don't get me wrong. Like I said, it's important that Marvel has some of that stuff back.
Oh, no, totally agree. And I mean, people were looking at Fox and the X-Men universe the same way that people are looking at DC and Warner Brothers right now. They can't do anything right no matter what they try, except for Wonder Woman.
Yeah, well, I heard Aquaman was good.
Aquaman actually was really, really well done. I enjoyed Aquaman very much. I know you haven't seen it yet, but I will just say the comic based outfit he wears in it is so good and so well done. I absolutely loved it.
The Aquaman costume?
The green and gold, baby.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm excited to watch it, mainly because that man is gorgeous, and he's fun. Yeah.
Jason Momoa is like, he's a goal to be a person in life.
Yeah, right. It's good stuff. But I enjoyed the discussion of that, and I think it's important that we watch it closely with what Disney's going to do. Yeah, and it's going to get a lot of criticism.
And they're going to make mistakes.
Big deal. Yep. Big deal. Fox giving that up.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't expect everything to be perfect. I have a feeling everything's going to be take it with a grain of salt. Let's see what happens. Type moves, and I mean, I have faith because Kevin Feige is supposed to be still running it, and I mean, he's proven. So,
yes, we'll see. It'll be cool to watch.
So that was our first episode where we talked all about the Marvel merger and Marvel characters and the cinematic universe and everything we would like to see, what we haven't liked. So thank you all for listening. I'm Steve, and this is Errane.
Thank you all for being here.
Today's music is used by permission from the artist Broke for Free. The song is called Something Elated. You can find it on freemusicarchive.org under the user Broke for Free.